Imagine for a moment that you worked 100 hours for this one thing. You finally get this thing, and by the end of the day you realize that you've lost it. You'll never get it back again. Now imagine that you worked 300 hours, all for this one thing. You finally get the thing and you're looking at it and you realize that it's not as valuable as you thought it was. The cost was too high for what it is. You end up with buyer's remorse. Now imagine that you worked your whole life for this one thing. Your whole life you toiled and troubled and planned and sacrificed, all for this one thing. And one day you finally get it. And it gets stolen from you. This is perhaps the most personally recognizable difference between a material value and a spiritual value. A material value comes with it all these possibilities of disappointments beyond your control. And not to say that a spiritual value doesn't come with a certain work ethic and certain frustrations, but to say that a spiritual value could ever be stolen from you could never be true. Even with the best intentions, a good heart, careful planning, and perfect execution of a plan, you can still end up with nothing, or worse, when you try to put a solid value on anything material. Material things can be lost, stolen, devalued, destroyed. Material things have a way of enticing jealousy and attracting hate. And I don't want to be misunderstood. Material things are good things, but they come with them all of these possibilities of disappointments beyond your control. It seems upsetting at times when you think about it, but all material things are destined to an end. This is another very recognizable difference between material values and spiritual values. Material values have an end. Spiritual values do not. A material value doesn't have to always be a money value. It could be a sentimental value. Your health, your education, your memories are all material values. Even a great thought or idea has material value. And just because a material value will depreciate and end one day doesn't mean that it's not an essential part of life. It's important to create a balance of seeing material and spiritual values. And remember that nothing of material value is ever going to be lost to someone who has their eye on spiritual values. And if you're seeking and noticing the beauty and the value in material things, you're coming closer and closer to realizing the pleasures of spiritual values. Remember that when I say spiritual, I don't mean ghosts, I don't mean religion, I don't mean euphoria, I don't mean meditation, I don't mean bliss. I don't mean any of these things that people commonly think of when they hear the word spiritual. For the sake of this narrative, I'm going to define spiritual values as values that last forever. Your house, your car, your health, your clothes, your world will end at some point in time. All material things are destined to this end, while all spiritual things are timeless. You can think of a spiritual value as a new beginning when a material value ends, as a growing replacement and upgrade for a diminishing material value, and even as an assurance that the end of all material values doesn't mean the end of all life. Whenever someone has an experience in the material world, a spiritual counterpart is created. We as human beings have the very special ability to progress through death into new life, and this is possible partly because we can create and possess values that are eternal. We've all heard the saying, it goes, "You are what you eat." And as we are able to take on the characteristics of things that we possess, possession of spiritual values helps to make us eternal. It's like filling up a whole bunch of balloons until that group of balloons is so strong and so powerful that holding on to it can make you fly. If you have a cake and you cut it and give someone a slice, you now have less cake than you did before. This is true in any situation where you give something material. You have to take it from yourself to give it to someone else. In giving something spiritual, you get to keep 100% of what you had before, and your piece gets stronger. And the best part is that the recipient of this new spiritual teaching or value or experience gets everything that you gave, not just a little slice. The nature of the Spirit is giving, so there's no better way to use the Spirit than in this way. The value of a material thing can be manipulated. It can be inflated and devalued using several different techniques. The one I wanted to talk about was supply and demand. If you have only so many things and a lot of people who want to buy these things, you just raise the price of the things until more and more people don't want to buy it anymore, and even that more and more people can't afford to buy it anymore, until it's even. It's a manipulation of a value based on what you want to happen. Spiritual values are unaffected by the number of people who seek them at any given time. Spiritual values are not only eternal in the sense that they last forever, but also that there is an absolutely unlimited number of individual instances of possession that may occur for any part of the Spirit. This is that omnipresence that you hear about. Everyone has an even and fair chance to place value on something spiritual and therefore possess that thing. Good health may be considered a material value. It requires material energy, exercise, education. It seems to be a wholly material, finite concern. And although your health will deteriorate and end, a spiritual value can be seen in this experience of taking care of health. For example, a respect of life is a spiritual value. A desire to live a long time in order to benefit people who you love, that's a spiritual value. Sharing your experiences and your education with others for their benefit out of love is a spiritual value. Anything done in the material world with selflessness and love instantly has a spiritual value. While material values transcend time and space to give us the experience of living life, spiritual values transcend the material, giving us the experience of the meaning of life. Spirituality is an upgrade from material life. It's a continuation of life past the point where life seems to stop. It is forever growing after material growth ceases. It gives real meaning to our everyday struggles. And anyone could only ever benefit from trying to see it, trying to understand it, and trying to experience it. Thank you very much for watching.